This is a story of the time that me and my childhood best friend almost got kidnapped. Just a warning, this could be triggering. I was around 10 years old and my neighbor down the street was about 7. All I remember is that it was getting dark outside and my parents told me that I should walk her home. It was about a 3-minute walk. So we're walking out of my house and down the street a little bit and we see a car pull up to us. It was a regular sedan and it had tinted windows. I was a very paranoid kid, so I told my friend to turn around. The car continued to follow us walk back to my house, and a man pulled down his window and asked us if we needed a ride to where we were going. I immediately screamed and told my friend to run back to my house. So we ran back inside, told my parents, and my parents thought nothing of it. Mind you, I live in a pretty safe area, so I could see why my parents weren't that worried. I was also a very dramatic kid, but this wasn't me being dramatic. So we go back outside and we see that the car was pulled up another person's driveway, so we thought we were okay. I still told my friend to run. The car lights turned on and go down the driveway and tried to chase us, but we got home in time.
Story time, the biggest lie I ever got away with as a teenager. So my sister and I were going to spend the weekend at my stepdad's, and I asked my parents if I could bring a friend. My dad said he didn't care, and my stepmom said no. And my parents were really strict. But obviously I did not listen. So I invited my friend, and her parents were also really strict. So we came up with this elaborate plan that I would ask her parents and tell them that it was a surprise for her. And they believed it. So the day comes whenever we're supposed to leave to go up to my stepdad's. So, we get off the bus, walk to my house, and my stepmom was asleep because she worked night shifts. So I was able to sneak my friend through the house to my bedroom. Little did she know she was going to have to hide in the closet. So my stepmom came in and needed to borrow a pair of socks for work. And I was literally guarding the closet with my life. And she goes, "Get away from the closet, you're acting so suspicious. What's in there?" Like for part 2, by the way, Stacy and Candace, if you see this, my bad. Okay, part 2, sorry for keeping you guys waiting. So she literally pushes me out of the way, goes and looks in the closet, and stands there for a whole minute. And me, I'm over here having an anxiety attack. My sister's looking at me, making like hand gestures, basically saying, "What is she looking at?" And I'm literally sitting there and I get to peek in the closet and my friend is not there. And I'm like, where did she go? And then she starts moving things around in the closet. So she didn't see anything and she goes to walk out of my room and she goes, "You guys are so weird." And I run over to the closet like, where is she? And she pops out of this box that is literally in plain sight and goes, "Is she gone yet?" And trust me, I know this doesn't sound like a big thing to get away with, but whenever you have strict parents and they're looking for somebody in literally a 5-foot space, oh honey. This was a big deal for me. And tonight is going to be the night that my stepmom actually sees this.
This is a story of the time that I caught my neighbor's mom talking smack about me. So I don't know about you guys, but every single Wednesday in my middle school, we would have a bagel sale. And some people's parents would come in to help out. And my neighbor's mom was one of those parents. And I had a best friend at the time whose mom would also work at the bagel sales. But this best friend of mine, her mom never let us hang out with each other because she felt that I was a bad influence on her. When in reality, it was the complete opposite. She was the one that snuck the boys in her house, if you guys remember that story time, where they peed in a flower pot. So basically her mom wouldn't let us hang out. And sometimes my friend would go with her mom in the morning, basically as a ride to school, and to help out with the bagels too. And one day when she went in with her mom, my neighbor's mom also was there too. So my friend starts eavesdropping into their conversation, and my friend's mom brings me up and says how much of a bad kid I am and a bad influence. And my neighbor's mom was like, "Oh wow, that's my neighbor. Like we always suspected something bad about her. Our whole entire neighborhood knows this about her." Basically making stuff up about me. So then I go home crying, tell my mom. Part 2 of catching my neighbor's mom talking smack about me. So my best friend tells me all these things that my neighbor was saying about me, obviously. And I got really upset, so I went home and I just started to cry. Because for some reason I felt like when I was younger, every one of my friends' parents hated me. And I never really knew why. I was always the type of person to let my friends do whatever they want and encourage them in doing whatever they want, whether that's breaking the rules or following the rules. So I guess that could be something, but I'm just being a supportive friend, Sorry, I got off topic. So when I told my mom, she was like, "Okay, come with me, I'm gonna knock on her door." And I was like, heck no, I do not feel like dealing with this. "Mom, you deal with it." So she calls her up on the phone, puts her on speakerphone, confronts her about the situation, and this lady starts going on about how she loves me like I'm her own child, saying that I was never a bad influence on her daughter, and that she actually wanted me to hang out with her daughter more. That's not what she was saying at bagel sale.
The time I threw up on one of my friends. So when I was growing up, my mom was very much of the mindset, like, if you're not bleeding out of your eyeballs, you're going to school. Not feeling good? Doesn't matter. You get your butt to school. So on this particular morning, I woke up and you know how you just have that feeling? You know you're going to get sick. So there I am on the bus. I'm already not feeling great, but I was past the point of no return. And of course I was sandwiched right between two of my friends. That didn't go well. We're going down the bumpy road. We finally get to school and I didn't make it. I puked on their laps on the bus. It was the worst moment of my life thus far. Yeah, we weren't friends for too long after that. Moral of the story is, if your mom is like my mom and won't let you skip school even when you're sick, bring a trash bag in your book bag. Prepare for the worst.
Storytime about the girl who tried to talk me into doing the nasty with her dad. Literally. So a little background information. 2 months before this whole situation, I had met her through one of my friends at a party. She was really funny, really nice. We're gonna call this girl Jessie. So when my friend and I left the party, I had asked her about Jessie, and she was like, oh, I wouldn't really hang around her. She's just like a really weird person. Now, I didn't really take my friend's word for it, mainly because in the past, my friend has gotten really jealous whenever I've started hanging out with other people. So I decided to find out for myself, which now I realize that was probably not one of my best ideas. So a few weeks later, we hung out with her again, and I got her number that night. Her and I started hanging out a lot. And her and I were both seniors in high school. Well, when I would go over to her house, her dad would be super weird around me. He would just be very overly nice and touchy with me. And her mom and her dad were divorced. Well, the one night I'm sitting in Jessie's room and she comes upstairs and she's like, OMG, I have to tell you what my dad said. Like for part 2. Part 2 about the girl who tried to talk me into doing the nasty with her dad. Literally. Like I said, she comes upstairs to her bedroom and she's like, OMG, I have to tell you what my dad just said about you. And she would literally do this all the time. She would be like, oh, my dad just said that you're so pretty, or my dad just said that if you were his age, he would totally date you. And just like super weird things like that. Well, I was like, oh, like what did he say? And she was like, OMG, I feel so weird telling you. Like, I really don't want to tell you. She was like, I feel like you'll think he's weird. Low-key, she didn't know that I already thought that he was weird. But I was like, oh, okay. She was like, okay, fine, I'll just tell you. My dad said that he would totally fuck you. And I was like, oh, that's really gross. Like, he's really fucking weird for that. And she was like, no, you should totally do it. And I was like, no, I'm good. Like, that does not make me feel comfortable. And she was like, dude, you don't understand. He'll pay you. And her dad was super rich, like he owned 4 of his own companies and everything. But still, that was not enough to bribe me to do it with this man. So I grabbed my stuff and I am like about to walk out of her room. And she's like, wait, no, don't go. Like, I was just joking. And I was like, no, I'm still gonna leave. And she was like, no, please, please, please don't. Like, how are you gonna get home? I'm not driving you. So I start walking down the stairs and I stop and look into the living room and I see her dad laying naked on the couch, just watching the stairs. It's like he was literally waiting for me to come down here to do the nasty with him. So I start running out the door and her dad chases me and he's like, hey, like, where are you going? What's wrong? And I'm like covering my eyes. I turn around and I'm like, you're what's fucking wrong. You're so fucking gross. After that, she texted me begging me not to tell anybody, and I don't really see her anymore except for when we go to parties and she just happens to be there.
Story time. My boyfriend tried to kill me so he could have my life insurance money. So I decided to go on Tinder to look for some potential matches. And lo and behold, a guy named Jared was there. He was adorable, he was charming, and we had multiple cell phone calls before deciding to meet. We met at Red Lobster and it was like fireworks. He was so romantic and looked like a 6-foot-something cowboy. He took me to a wildlife bird refuge after dinner and I instantly fell for him. We dated for months and everything was mostly good. However, he was just very pressuring for things. And I didn't want to take things too fast. I was 21 and he was 31. Eventually, this just gave me some bad vibes, so I decided to cut off the relationship. But a few months later, he called me saying that he couldn't forget me. He had been married before and his wife had passed away, so I felt very sympathetic towards him. He had a really nice job, making over $150K a year, and he said that all he wanted to do was take care of me and my child. So I moved in and things were good again. I would wake up in the morning, he would make me coffee, and I would help him with his kids. But I noticed that my weight was starting to go down. And that's when I realized he was putting something in my coffee. Follow me on Insta and stay tuned for part 2. Part 2 to my boyfriend trying to kill me to get my life insurance money. I was not feeling very well and my parents were extremely worried about me, especially once they found out I only weighed 88 pounds. I knew I had to have been really, really ill, so my parents drove down 5 hours to rescue me, and I was immediately hospitalized. That's when I was able to put together the full story on what was going on. He started putting all the money that he was making into my bank account,
but he didn't let me have access to it. He would take out loans in my name, making it look like I was making money. And my life insurance policy added to $500,000. During this time in the hospital, I was going through severe withdrawals from whatever he was putting into my coffee. But the second I stopped drinking it, I started to gain weight back. I was thinking that maybe he had done this to his previous wife. However, when I looked her up, I found out that she was still alive. They were just divorced. Later, I was able to find out that they even moved back in with each other. Make sure you don't ever get too blinded by love to realize that you're being taken advantage of.
Thanks for watching. Have a good day.